I promised I would. There we go.
Okay. I'll hit OK up here. All right. Share. I'll see if I can show this to you here. Um, let's see. Now, let's say I'm going to use, I don't know. Here's an image of the rosette. See it?
No, I just see you.
See just me.
Yeah, are you
Okay.
sharing your screen?
I hit share it. Yeah, I just did. Let me go back here again. Um, what the
Is it
heck?
on a different monitor? I don't know how
I don't
Zoom
know what
captures
happened
the
here.
screens.
Wait a minute. Um, now I just got a blank Zoom. I don't know what happened here. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. All right, here's you. All right, I'll hit share it now.
Oh, there we go. Now
Okay.
it says you started screen sharing. I don't see anything yet.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. How about now?
Yep,
What do you see?
Rosette.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Here's what I'll show you here. Now watch this. See, if I wanted to process that rosette, this is the program right here. Now let's say, now this one's for cropping right here, for formatting it. And you see these little icons up here. Now this one is for the actual, okay, light. See, this is the Microsoft. I don't know, they don't have any title for it, but anyway, after I have it out of PixInsight, sometimes it needs a little further tweaking. So here you've got brightness, exposure,
Uh-huh.
the equivalent exposure, contrast, highlights. Then you come
And
down here, even color, got saturation. Uh, and then they don't give actual specific colors, but they just give a general warmth. Now, if you want to add a specific amount of color, you got to take it back into PixInsight and do that.
okay.
And then
So
tint,
this is some
same thing.
unnamed Microsoft product?
I don't know what this is. I've never found a title for it. And
Does
then
anybody
finally at
know?
the bottom, you've got sharpness. So even in addition to blur exterminator, you want to do it on blur exterminator first, because that'll take out uh, sharpness just a little. You lose a little bit of it when you transfer it over, and you now use the sharpness
So
function to
I'm
get
sorry to
it.
interrupt, but PixInsight does have a process to save a file as a JPEG, and that doesn't work?
Yeah, it works. But I mean, I'm just saying,
Okay.
uh, I've been told to save them in TIFF and then make a JPEG from the TIFF image.
Anybody else do anything like that?
Anybody have any better ideas? I'm glad to hear it. If you think this is a pile of crap, go ahead and tell me, and I'll. But but let's hear your answer. That's all I can say.
Okay.
This is Dave. When I'm in
Yeah,
PixInsight, um, if I'm going to do anything else with it, like export it in Photoshop or do any other work, some minor white black settings or black point settings, or maybe do some masking within the image itself, I always save it as a TIFF file because
Yeah,
TIFF is a lossless file, doesn't degrade the image. If you save it as a JPEG file, you lose a lot of resolution. It's just gonna, it's not a lossless type of compression.
can you see
yes.
it? Like if you look
Okay,
side by
that's
side
what
in
I've been
PixInsight, do
doing.
you see the difference?
Okay, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah. But say if you want to transmit the image or something, then uh, you have to eventually uh, create a pix or create a JPEG version of it.
Well, I use in Photoshop, I just go ahead and export it. Now, if you had something other than Photoshop that does the same thing, that's fine. But
Uh-huh.
I use a .png file because that is a lossless file as well. You're not going
Did
to
you
have
say
those
PNG?
.png file, correct?
Uh-huh.
It's something within Photoshop. Lightroom gives you more options. I mean, there are other tools out there. I forgot the name of the tool. It's just like Photoshop that you get for like 35 bucks. You don't need subscription, but I always forget the name of it.
Is it an
Uh,
Adobe product?
no, it's a different product, but it's very popular for people who aren't going to be using Photoshop all the time. I just happen to use Photoshop and Lightroom because I've been doing photography for over 20 years as an amateur photographer. So I use those tools and I use Photoshop to export it as a .png file. And it does give the option in Photoshop if you want to reduce the resolution of it slightly. So it can do that, but it does it in such a way so when you're looking at it, say in Astrobin, let's say you export it, you want to keep it like, I try to keep it 25 meg or below for the file size. Otherwise, if you try to enlarge it, it's going to take forever on Astrobin.
Yeah.
That usually works pretty well.
Okay, so let's back up a
Okay.
little bit because I didn't cover the kind of newbie section somebody mentioned. So does anybody have any questions for the group that they kind of newbie type questions? Somebody mentioned they were having some questions about Cyril.
Yeah, that was me. And I have Nina, I have a C11, I have a nice 533 MC. I have all the fun toys, but it's just too complicated at this point for me to be at that level. So the other night I grabbed my Rokinon 135 millimeter on my Astro modified DSLR, went out to the backyard with a lens release and just took 60 images of the Orion Nebula and 20 darks and 20 flats and 20 biases and pulled it into Serial and it worked. I pulled it into Deep Sky Stacker and I was pretty amazed. It worked. I got the Flame Nebula, the Horsehead Nebula, the Orion Nebula, all of it, and about a dozen satellite trails.
And I'm sorry,
So
what
I
lens
knew
did you say you used?
a Rokinon 135
135, okay.
f2, an f2 lens. It did a nice field of view. It got the belt and the Orion Nebula and the Flame and the Horsehead all in one field of view. So when I brought it in after Deep Sky Stacker, out of the 60, it saved 48, and of those 48, I pulled it into Serial and did an auto stretch, and it looked amazing. I was like, wow, I'm done. I don't need to do anything else but this. But there were about a dozen satellite trails across the image, and I'm wondering how you guys deal with satellite trails. I'll hang up
Well,
and let you answer.
in Pixin site, with the weighted batch pre-processing, will eliminate it completely.
Yeah, but they're just setting, right? What do you have to adjust the rejection or something?
Well,
To
I've
go to this?
had them numerous times. I just dumped them in and there's never been a trace on the final image.
But
Well,
if
I
you were to
tried
do it manually, I mean, there's a way to do it, right? I think it's pixel rejection. You have to increase do you have anything like that?
in
Um,
Serial. I don't know.
There may be some, because I've never had a problem with the final composite. And I've almost always had, just about every object I've taken, some of the frames have had satellite trails on them, but none of them ever
does
showed
anybody
on
know how
the
to do it
final.
in Serial?
I
Because
tried
Jim
to
is using Serial,
combine,
right?
yeah, I tried to combine everything in Serial and it failed. So I was able to combine everything in Deep Sky Stacker. I
Okay.
don't know how to reject, I mean, like I said, it rejected 12 of my 60 frames. I'm not sure why it did that, but maybe they were a little blurry or something, but 12 of them got thrown out and the other 48 looked pretty good when I brought it in. Um, but since I was only taking 20-second exposures, it's like a dashed line going
Right.
the field of view. And I'd like to just figure out a manual way to click on one end and the other end and have it say, pull all
Yeah.
the pixels around and eliminate it. I'm sure there's got to be a way to do that.
I'm sure there is. Does anybody else use Deep or Serial and know how to do that? What is everybody using for post-processing? I use PixInsight as well.
PixInsight,
PixInsight. Randy uses PixInsight.
yeah.
Paul uses PixInsight. What are you using, Jim? Anything? You're muted, Jim. Maybe I have you muted.
I use PixInsight now.
Yeah, I'm just, because I'm new to this, that's what I'm trying to figure out what software to use and to start with and everything. But it sounds like PixInsight is popular.
Well, PixInsight is expensive and is a really, really steep learning curve. So that's why I downloaded Cyril for free just to start playing with something. And you know, it may be at some point that I want to get to the next level and spend what is it now, $350 for PixInsight?
It's
I paid,
expensive.
I paid $260 for it.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing
260,
about
That
PixInsight
was a
is you
while
kind of buy
back.
it once and forget it.
Yeah,
And
I
they
mean,
keep
it's only a
upgrading and all
one-time
the upgrades are
cost.
free.
So I use PixInsight, and there's a 45-day trial for it. What I did, starting out completely knowing nothing about this hobby, I got Adam Block's fast track training for PixInsight for $60. I got the 45-day trial. And when I got my scope, it was raining for about a month, so I couldn't
Oh,
do
that
a
was your
darn
fault.
thing. I figured, after watching all my YouTube videos and everything, I figure I better learn how to process this stuff. Otherwise, I spent 6 grand on equipment, and if I don't know how to process correctly, it's a waste of money. And I understand that the price you got to pay for the software, but you've already paid for your equipment. So figure divide $300 for PixInsight into what you paid for the equipment. It's a really small investment, but
Yeah,
it's the one that most people are using now, and most of the resources that are out there that you can look at, even on YouTube for free, they're all pretty much dealing with PixInsight.
Yeah, I think Cyril is picking up Steam, as is SETI Astro. Is anybody using SETI Astro? That's free as well.
never heard of it.
I'm using SETI Astro Star Stretch just as
Mm-hmm.
an experiment, and I think it does a nice job. It holds down the brightest stars, and anyway, I've been using it. You know, after I pull the stars out and I just want to stretch the stars separately, that I'm using SETI Astro, and I've been pleased with what it's doing. It's better than just a straight stretch, in my opinion.
Are you using the script in PixInsight, or are you using
Yes.
the
No.
software program?
No, I'm using it within uh, it's in scripts, yes, and it's in the SETI Astro section. When I downloaded it, all those things are in one place within the script.
Yeah,
One
there's a lot
other
of cool stuff in there.
Yeah. What other comment on PixInsight? If you're going to buy it, you better budget an extra $300 because you are going to want Blur Exterminator, Star Exterminator, and Noise Exterminator from the Russ Cronin.
That's right.
You just have they are so good. You just have to have them.
I
You
agree.
definitely want those.
I agree with Randy.
Yeah.
They're kind of indispensable tools.
Just do what Randy does.
Yeah.
I just do what you do.
You know, I've even heard that the Hubble images are processed with some sort of sharpening tool as well. Some probably advanced version of Blur Exterminator, Noise Exterminator. I mean, even those, even a Hubble image, it wouldn't look like what they did without some advanced processing tools used.
Yeah, I usually just use Hubble images, and this was taught to me by Doug Summers, just kind of as a reference, because you can't achieve anything like that. I don't have a scope that big.
Well, you have
But
to have it in space.
Right, and it's a good reference for colors.
Yeah.
So I use that as kind of my target. So that's what I do. I look at the image online, I Google it, and you can always find a Hubble image of just about everything you want to image, and that's kind of your target. It's a little frustrating that you can't get the the sharpness that they get, but that's the way it goes, right?
Well, I would agree with what David said. You are, after you get into this, you'll find collecting the images is easy, relative, and you're going to spend what you get out of it in an image is all going to be on the processing side, assuming you have a decent capture of images. Everything else is going to take, 2-3 hours, however nitpicky you want to get. You can always figure out a way to bring out one little more thing if you
Right.
can figure out how to isolate it. And PixInsight seems to have some good tools and other things you can add to it that allow you to isolate different parts of the image. So you can't over emphasize the importance of processing, because it's going to end up making 90% of what you get out of the camera.
I'm inclined to agree. I used to think, like, when I started out, I thought 90% was the image capture, but it's really only like 10%. The image capture part I have down, and the processing is not where all the work is now.
The nice thing about processing, though, you don't have to worry about the weather. You can do it when it's cloudy.
That's true. You just have to worry about disk space,
Yeah, that's right.
right?
You have
Because
to worry about disk space. That is
for all the
correct.
PixInsight users, we know you get huge amounts of data. I use WBPP exclusively, and you get
Me too.
you get a couple of extra folders inside your folder when you're done.
Yep, I know how that works.
You know how that works. So the first thing is to clean up all that data, because you get a lot of data.
Yeah,
You
what you want to do is,
cosmetize, you get a folder, and I forget what the other folder is. You get 3 extra folders after they do the process to the file. You get a copy of that file with a underscore C appended to it, or an underscore CC, cosmetized and corrected, right? So you get all, like I was doing NGC 660 right now, and I had like an extra 150 gigabytes of data that I created. That's a
oh
lot of
yeah,
data.
I've had that.
So the topic of the meeting is supposed to be non-standard processes. So is anybody doing anything quote unquote non-standard? I mean, I kind of, it's kind of cookbooky to me, and every image is different for me. How about the experts like Dave and Randy, guys that produce beautiful results all the time?
I have one trick that I use. I call it a trick. Usually, I want to get the background of my images as smooth as possible, but I don't always get enough time captured to do that. And one way I've found to work around that is, once you're pretty well done with your starless image, save it as a TIFF, and then take it into, now I'm losing, what is not who makes gigapixel? It's that one.
That's a Google make the pixel,
That's
isn't it?
Well,
Topaz.
yeah, Topaz. I have the only part of Topaz I use is Topaz denoise, and I take it in, and when I take that TIFF image in, it always smooths out that image, and you don't lose any detail. And then I take it and I save it, and then I work. That becomes my replacement starless image. But it makes a pretty nice difference in how smooth your image turns out.
What do you
Even
mean
if
by
you're,
smooth? Do you mean like gradients or something?
well, even after you denoise, say in PixInsight, if you look closely in the background, the darker areas, it still may have a little graininess to it.
Mhm.
If you take that into Topaz denoise, and I run it on severe noise. They have different levels you can choose. I let it run and it always makes a difference. I don't think it degrades anything, and it always makes a nice difference. It makes things smoother. So that's one thing I would probably offer as a non-standard processing step, but I almost always do it.
Huh, interesting. Anybody else?
I always bring in the image as a TIFF into Lightroom, and then I'll do my standard things I do with all my photos, which is just adjusting the white, black points to a certain extent. I've been trying to be really careful about getting rid of any nebulosity by clipping the blacks points, but I always find a little bit of adjustments in Lightroom, which to me is a, PixInsight is good for astro processing, but it's really not a photo editor. It's not
Right.
designed to do that. It's not calibrated for that. My little iMac, which is about to blow up now that I'm doing 2x drizzle because I'm undersampled with my wider field scope. I have to be really careful that I save projects all the time. Otherwise, I lose things sometimes. But it is calibrated for what it is. It's not a dedicated monitor like you could get like a BenQ or something, but it's about
Mhm.
as color calibrated as I can get. I always find that I can tweak a little bit more out of the image if I just go into Lightroom, then go into Photoshop. Um, I don't do a lot with Photoshop. I'll just go in and maybe look at my curves, balance my curves, and I'll make a very slight adjustment. And that's enough to make the image pop a little bit better and still have a balance at contrast and lightness and so forth.
Well, maybe this question is impossible to answer, but how do you know when you're done? Because, Dave, you mentioned, you tweak the curves a little. I feel like it could go on forever.
When you quit looking at it, that's when you're done. Because you're always going to see a tweak or says, man, that star could be a little better, or that area, there must be a little more detail if I
Yeah.
can figure out how to isolate on it and bring it out.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing I do is I always make sure I don't try to pixel peep too much because um, in Illinois, I was a member. There are 35 different camera clubs, and they have these judges that
Oh.
from other clubs that go around. They'll judge your images. And when we used to do a lot of this stuff in person, especially with print competitions, the judges are already sitting about maybe 10, 12 feet away from the light box where they were being displayed in a nice neutral lighting setup. But then every so often you see some guy come up within about like an inch of looking at the print, trying to look for things. And I'm thinking, you don't go to an art gallery and look at art on the wall, whether it's a painting or whether it's, first of all, the stuff's roped off, but they're not going to let you get within a nose hair of the image to see every single brush stroke or pixel or whatever.
Right.
So I just try to look at it for what it is. I'm going to be looking at this maybe at about 15 inches away from the screen. That's how I'm going to view it. If it looks good there, fine. But I don't try to go crazy with details of pixel peeping. Now, I know in Astrobin, when they're judging these things, there's no standards. I mean, they say there are standards, but the people who are judging these images, they're pixel peeping them. And if somebody submitted their image as a JPEG, they're going to see a lot of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not doing it at the right viewing distance. So, but I just look at it and see, is it pleasing to me? Is it balanced? Is it composed right? Have I not clipped the blacks? I mean, am I showing contrast? Am I pleased with the image? That's what I look at.
Mhm. Well, I think some people, and you are one of them, just kind of get it. It's like I look at it and I could tweak it forever until I totally mess it up. It's horrible and I start over. Um, whereas I think people with a better eye, for lack of a better term, just can look at it and say it looks good. I just always want more sharper, and I think one of the guys online describes it as looking wormy. Like if you try to make it too sharp, it gets wormy looking, and that's when you kind of killed it to me. So Randy, you said you use the star stretch from SETI Astro. Do you ever use, I'm not supposed to really talk about stretching because that could be a whole show. But do you ever use the regular stretch in PixInsight?
Yeah, just the histogram transformation. That would have normally been what I would do. And maybe put a mask on, say, brighter stars, so they don't come up as I bring out the more dim stars. I just found I don't know even why I downloaded SETI Astro. I just did, and it's the only one I've done anything with, and it seemed to do a better star stretch than what I was doing manually. And it's just a click, and you can there are two sliders. One is a color saturation slider, and the other it defaults to, I think, like 5.0. And depending on how bright the star field is, I might dial that back, maybe down to 3.5, or I might do it at several levels. Then when I add the stars back, I'll see which level put enough stars in, but did not take away from my object.
So how do you match the stretches on the stars versus the starless image?
I copied some pixel math formula from somebody along the way. I have it just set up as an icon, and always it's set up for the word starless and stars. So I just changed the starless image to say starless on the identifier, and the other one, the stars, to say stars. And all you do is then click go. You open the pixel math and hit apply, and that's all you have to do.
Oh.
Yeah. And
How about statistical stretch? Have you ever used that from SETI
No.
Astro?
No, I haven't used any of the other. Well, I did try their. I think it was defect remover. Or that's not the right word, but
Blemish
something.
blasting.
Yeah, that's it. And I used it a little bit, and it was kind of helpful. If you had a halo in your starless image you want to knock down, you could put a circle around that, and it seemed to do a pretty good job on knocking that halo down. And then before you add the stars back in.
Randy, I might recommend you watch some of his videos. I don't know how he has the energy, but he releases the videos constantly, and he releases the software constantly, and he works a full-time job. I don't know when he has the time to do this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been using the automatic DB or ABE, whatever it's called, to get rid of gradients. And I've actually become very fond of SETI Astro's automatic ABE background extraction or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I agree with you. I tend to run that, and then I run the find the background. And I use that as the background when I do is it SPCC?
That's for color calibration.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the bottom of the color calibration script in PixInsight, it asks you can define a background.
Right.
So I find the background and then I use that to define it.
Yeah. One thing I've been doing, and shameless plug for next meeting, I'm going to be presenting the scriptlets that Bill Blanchard has written as part of this Pixel Math UI. And that's something he wrote with Mike Cranfield. He wrote the interface. And what you can do is if you have any scripts, if you do Pixel Math, myself personally, I stay away from anything with the word math in it. But if you like to write Pixel Math, or if you have a bunch of scripts and you ever in a situation where you had to go in and change a variable in the script every time you used it, depending on what you wanted to do, or depending how the image looked after you applied the script, this allows you to take that Pixel Math and have a user interface around it with sliders and previews and everything you can imagine. Very similar to other tools you might be familiar with, like General Hyperbolic Stretch, that uses the same kind of a
Uh-huh.
GUI interface. I don't use that for that purpose, but he has about 12 or so different scripts that I use all the time, for stretching images, for screening stars into an image, for combining one-shot color, dual narrowband master lights into an SHO type image, and it saves you a ton of steps. So I'll be showing that next time.
Dave, have you ever used any of SETI Astro's tools? I love the perfect palette picker.
I haven't used the perfect palette picker. I think I played with it once, but I really haven't used it.
I like it in that it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah.
I end up going with realistic. He has like SHO, HOO, HOS, HSO, all these options you choose from. And you
Yeah.
just click on the picture you like and it produces the picture. It's
Right.
pretty nice. So it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, I'll be showing you guys next time, or girls, whoever attends it, but I'll be showing a few of my favorite scripts next time we have our meeting in November, and I think you'll be pretty pleased with it, depending on what you like to do. But there's
Yeah, no,
something for
completely
everybody
agree.
with the scripts. They're really well written. Even his SCNR modified script that he has now, I didn't realize till Frank from SETI Astro had a video about SCNR and how it kind of destroys your image
Right.
using it. And I contacted Bill on Messenger. I said, "So, does your SCNR, does that keep the image intact in terms of resolution?" "Oh, you must have seen Frank's video," and then he explained to me that he developed his in such a way that it only gets rid of the noise and doesn't destroy the image in terms of its resolution.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that video too. It scared the crap out of me. Has anybody done so you watched the SCNR video? Like I said, he produces a lot of videos. I lost my train of thought, but he's very responsive. So I personally highly recommend it. I still use PixInsight 99% of the time, but I follow along on it. He's got a Discord group, so you can follow along and make suggestions. And he just seems to be very responsive, and he seems to know what he's talking about.
Yeah. With his suite, you could potentially, if you wanted to, not use a tool like PixInsight, just do everything through SETI Astro. If you wanted to learn all the different scripts and processes he has, you could probably do a lot of stuff within his scripts.
I agree. I think WBPP is really great. And coming up with a replacement for that is hard. Some people don't like automated stuff, and some people do.
Yeah.
Personally, I like to click the button and let it do its thing.
Yeah. Well, WBPP is nothing but a pipeline. All those individual steps within WBPP you could do individually if you want.
You could, but if you
WBPP
try
just
it, and I
streamlines.
have,
Yeah.
you look at each process has like 100 settings, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just took Adam Block's, I just completed it, his Comet Academy course.
Yeah.
Because I'm a subscriber. I'm what they call an Infinity subscriber, so I get most of the stuff that he does. And that was one of the courses. That's how I processed that recent version of the Lemon Comet that I just did. And I tell you, after I got through the whole thing, it was like taking a midterm or a final when you were in school, and then you just wanted to go out to the bar and drink and not think about it. That's how I felt after I took the course. It's a pretty detailed course, and I'm sure that once I get through my 10th comment, it'll probably be automatic to me. But you do have to go in as part of that course, and you set up your master light for the comment like you normally would. You just do your regular WPPP, go through the whole process. But then when you want to do comment alignment, you have to go into the detailed folders that it creates in WPPP and select, say, the DBear folder, and then go through all those images and make sure you have the comment align set properly, comment alignment, and there's some other process you have to work in between to do what's called a comment subtraction before you can start doing the image blend of both your starless comet and using the stars. So there's probably about 12 different steps you have to go through. And with each one of those steps, there are details to it.
Yeah, I think, Adam definitely has a style and people either love him or hate him. He wants to tell you, wants to / needs to tell you all the details, whether you care or
Right.
not. Right?
Yeah,
So
literally, I get myself an extra large cup of coffee when I'm watching his
that's a
stuff.
good idea.
And I like most of his stuff. The one thing I don't really care for, and this is a personal preference of mine, I don't like his method of narrowband processing, of trying to do what you could easily do within Bill Blanchard's narrowband normalization scripts. I just think he goes kind of crazy with it, and what he's doing is, I don't like the results, frankly, but
Yeah, he
that's my,
does. I mean, unfortunately, there are a million ways to do everything, right?
exactly. It's more of a
So
preference.
it's really a preference. You know, even though people have made fun, I'm kind of a pretty pictures guy. I look at it and I go, it either looks great or it doesn't look great, and I don't want to spend 12 hours on an image, personally. And Adam's here in Tucson, right?
Yeah,
On Mount Lemon.
yeah, he's done work on Mount Lemon. I mean, he set up the programs out there for Mount Lemon and Kids Peak and so forth. So he works for the University of Arizona. I know that, but
Does he?
I'm sure he makes a lot of money with his own. He has his own website with subscriptions. So there's the
Yeah, he's a
clientele he
sharp
has
guy.
are very specific. People like us to do this hobby, but he does that. But he also does lectures and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Come on, don't be shy. I don't want this to be like a regular old meeting. I'm going to send the recording to Greg anyway. So, all right. Well, if nobody has anything else, how about you, Vincent? You just joined, it looks like. You have anything you want to add? No. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to Dave's presentation next time. So you're working on those scriptlets?
Yes, scriptlets.
Okay.
That's what Bill calls them.
Right. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. So thank you, everybody, and until next time.
All right.
Thank you,
All right.
Ellen.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Night.
Good night.